Live from the Channel Seed Studios, this is Jared and Jabo and Iowa Everywhere. Jared Stansbury, Jordan Bohannon, together on Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed, seedsmanship at work.
Welcome to the podcast. I still don't understand how I have top billing on this thing. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever for my name to come first. I just don't understand.
You're the special. You're the ultimate guy. You're the guy everyone wants to listen to. You
like
got voice. You're better looking.
It's like if you go to a festival and they've got a bunch of big names on there, and then the headliner is like some band from 10 years ago that nobody's listened to. You know, like what? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. I don't get it. But welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Channel Seed Studios, recording as always here on Iowa Everywhere. Jam-packed episode coming for you today. We've got questions from fans. The new NCAA commissioner or president spoke and had a lot to say. And then we've got a pretty cool story, an interesting story out of New Jersey about parents who like to talk shit to the umpires in Little League Baseball. But you're still in California. How's California going? Do you feel like you should live off the government and never have a job again yet?
I can see how the whole mentality of that gets lost out here in California. I will admit that, but no, I am far from that.
Have you completely forgotten about college sports because you like to go to the beach too much? That's what everybody says, why people don't go to the UCLA football games, USC football games, because they like to go to the beach instead. Is that
the argument for people not showing up to their games?
Yeah, that's what the people on the West Coast say. We got too much going on to care about the Bruins, you know.
I don't know about that. What's so crazy about it is my dad's from this area, like in Los Angeles area, and I've never like really came out here much. So it's pretty crazy. Like now I'm out here, I feel like my dad. I'm getting old.
It's cool as an adult to go to those places. My dad's from Oregon, and I went there for the first time as an adult a couple years ago, and then went back last November. And when you like can actually understand the things that are going on, you know, it's pretty cool to go to those places.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing is like he hardly ever really talks about his childhood. So I don't really know what it was like growing up in Los Angeles. How do you explain to someone that's from Los Angeles, or that they're trying to explain what it's like growing up here, and you're from Iowa? It's just a totally different environment.
You mean to tell me Cedar Rapids, the mean streets of Cedar Rapids, don't match up with, or of Marion, don't match up with Los Angeles? I find that hard to believe.
Times are tougher in Marion, dude. Times are tougher.
Yeah, I believe it. All right, do you want to do the questions first, or do you want to do all of the other things that we have?
You're the guy, dude. You're the first one on.
Get out of here.
You gotta make the ultimate calls here.
All right, let's start with Charlie Baker, the new president of the NCAA. He had some thoughts on a number of issues this week at the Lead One Association's annual spring meeting. I have no idea what the Lead One Association is. Some sort of some sort of coalition, I suppose, of college administrators. He said, quote, "I don't think you'll find very many student athletes who want to be employees. I haven't found many, and there aren't really a lot of good reasons for that. Obviously, there's a lot of traffic in the courts at this point about this issue these days, which is going to limit what I would choose to say about it. But I think student athletes want to be student athletes, and it's up to us to figure out how to make that work for them in a variety of environments and circumstances that are different. Maybe there are ways to do this that are different for certain divisions and certain programs at certain levels. But if we're really serious about being for student athletes, I'm not sure that they would think that that's where they want to go." You spend a lot of time talking to student athletes, spend a lot of time working on student athletes' rights. Do you believe that student athletes want to be employees?
I do believe they do want to be student athletes, or they do want to be employees if people talk to these college athletes and realize what actually is happening. That's what I believe in. I think the whole concept of the NCAA, right, with college athletes is, well, first of all, the student athlete term is a made up terminology. Like a student athlete 90% of the athletes that are in Division I sports are going to a school not because to be a student. They're going to become an athlete. So the whole student athlete terminology is a made up thing by the NCAA just to protect their model. But I think if people were actually to lay down what's happening with college athletes and what's going on, all the money that's actually flowing right through them off the backs of them, I think a lot more would be open to the idea and become employees of the university, because ultimately that's going to make them have a more protected stay with the NCAA or with whoever they're employed by, with their conference, with their school, and protect them health wise, protect them financially wise. And before I think the whole term of the NCAA like mentality of it, you have these 4 years of sports, right? You're coming in, you go right out, and they come in with a whole new set of athletes. They come in, they come right out. So 4 years isn't a lot of time to realize how many, like, what exactly is going on behind the curtains of the NCAA and the whole model. So I think that's why they've been able to get away with this for so long. But dude, to say that no athletes would college athletes would want to be employees, that is a absurd comment by the NCAA president, the person that's supposed to be protecting the college athletes. That is crazy.
Yeah, I would be interested to know if he has actually had these conversations with student athletes. Which sport were they playing?
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet that it wasn't basketball or football. And it just is it brings up a question that I think is important about this. And it is the NCAA president's role to protect student athletes, or is it to protect the schools?
Right. And you got to think the board of governors that hired this
Yeah.
guy. I mean, he's already tied to politics because he was a governor already. So he already has a foot in the door to lobby for whatever these board of governors want him to do. But all these board of governors already have established tenure with their position with the NCAA. They're going to hire whoever they want. They're going to force this guy, whoever they hired, to be ultimately the voice of their outrageous takes that a lot of these guys in the board of governors just are so out of touch with what's going on right now with athletics that nothing will continue to happen on the NCAA. No matter what this new NCAA president will try to push for, whatever he believes in, it doesn't matter what he thinks. Like, he's just gonna be a voice for these people that are old and stuck in their ways and continue to do the same thing over and over again. NIL wouldn't have passed like if I don't think if Mark Emmert wouldn't have met with myself, Geo Baker, and Isaiah Livers, and a couple other women's basketball players, I don't think that they would have passed NIL, because the board of governors would continue to force down the throat to Mark Emmert what they want and continue to want. I think that was the first time Mark Emmert actually listened to athletes or met with athletes that actually held a voice in what matters in college athletics. And I guarantee you, this new NCAA president has not listened to a single college athlete that actually has a voice.
No, I think that that's probably safe to say. The other topics that he covered during this, he talked about collectives. He talked about Title IX, all these kinds of things. It just seemed, and then he also spoke pretty extensively about all of the new state laws that are being passed that basically say "fuck you" to the NCAA, and and how there's a need for this federal legislation. It becomes blatantly clear to me that they don't have any intention of actually doing what they should just do. And they're just continuing to beg Congress or someone to do something for them rather than them actually doing something themselves.
Yeah, it's always put the
onus on somebody else.
Yeah, put the onus on someone else, put it on Congress. It's their fault they never passed anything. Like, whether they like it or not, they have a monopoly, and they run it as a cartel, and they continue to have these athletes not be properly compensated, not be properly protected, and they're breaking federal law. Like, they're breaking federal antitrust law, and that's why I've personally met with the Department of Justice myself with a couple of numerous athletes across the NCAA to try to get them to investigate the NCAA, because they are breaking laws by the book. They're breaking laws of federal and antitrust law, and for whatever reason, there's been, maybe it's because they have old governor in the door now that is representing the NCAA. They finally have a guy that's been in Congress, and we'll fight for them that way, lobbying. But at the end of the day, the onus is on the NCAA. They need to figure out themselves. They need to stop listening to those board of governors because they're not listening to athletes. They are not. The college athletes should have been employees 100 years ago.
I think you brought up a good point there with the protections. I think the protections is really important right now because we talk about how we're protecting student athletes and all these kinds of things. Wouldn't contracts with the schools and putting these things in place, this framework being done with the schools, isn't that protecting the school and it's protecting the student athlete? How is this not mutually beneficial for everyone?
Right.
You know, and I think that that's a timely topic right now when you think about what's going on right now at the University of Colorado with the number of guys that are leaving that program, the football program there, and everything that's happened with Deion Sanders. What protections do those guys have right now? You know, there's a lot of them that are going to have opportunities to go and play elsewhere that are going to get, great chances to go and play potentially at the Power 5 level. But a lot of those guys are going to be going to be searching for a lot of the summer for anywhere to be able to play football. And to push them out at this point in the year and do things like that, like I just think that that's really unfortunate because they have no protections whatsoever other than, yeah, we can't pull your scholarship away from you if you just want to stay here and go to school, but you're not playing football anymore. And that's the only protection that they have whatsoever from any of these kinds of things.
Yeah, we briefly talked on that last couple of weeks, and I think now we're kind of getting more in depth with it because of what was just being said by him. You're absolutely right. The fact that there's an enormous lack of protection for these athletes out there. And keep in mind, the coaches they're great. They're perfect, right? They have agents, they have people that handle their contracts, they have contracts with the universities when they get hired, they have endorsement deals outside of their schools. They're fine. Like they have health and benefits for their family. They're okay. Whatever would happen while they're working at that job, they're fine. College athletes, on their hand, yeah, they're getting paid some money now from outside the universities, but how are they protected? And that protection that there's a lack of is bad for both sides right now, especially with the numerous cases, like just to go on the health side of everything. There's been numerous instances across the board in Division I athletics of athletes dying, literally dying. I'm not exaggerating, dying in workouts in the off season or in season or ending up in the hospital because of issues. It happened right down the street in Iowa City a few years back. The lack of protection that the athletes that have right now is hurting the schools too. So it's mind-boggling to me to understand why there hasn't been some sort of contracts, some sort of employee status put in place already. But that goes right back full circle to the NCAA president, what he stated just now. They just refuse.
What do you think of the situation in Colorado? I think Deion's forced out 51 guys since he took the job there. To turn over 2/3 of your scholarship players, I mean, that's something, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad. I would strongly lean towards that's probably a bad thing, frankly. I don't think that that's a good thing for college sports.
Especially how college sports is right now, you're 100% right. It is terrible because there's no protections for these athletes, right? Exactly what we've been saying. They can just force out all these kids and they're left in like, okay, where do I go now? And keep in mind, like, I don't know the exact percentage, but a large percentage of these athletes that are entering the transfer portal aren't even going to go to a Division I school.
They're not, and there's a lot of them that won't find a school to play at all. That's not maybe Division III or the NAIA level.
Right. And you got to look at all those numbers, and you can't say that, okay, this coach is forcing out all these players. It'd be one thing if they're on contract, right? And there's some sort of agreement being made, like they go to this school for this coach or these players go to this
for 2 years or whatever it may be. Yeah.
Some sort of terminology, just add a layer of protection. It's not going to be perfect. Like there's going to be instances where it's going to be flawed and there's going to be athletes that end up not playing just because of the circumstance. But if they can just cut in half of what's going on right now with some of these athletes and some of these coaches that are switching schools, Colorado, perfect example, that would be progress in my book. And I think that starts with layer one of just becoming employees of your school and having contracts as some sort of protection, because it protects the athletes physically, protects them wherever they might go in the future. And especially if any coach comes in on a school and weeds them out, they're protected.
I don't care what anybody says either. I find it really hard to believe that you can add 50 people in the transfer portal and have a good football team the next year. I find it really, really hard to believe.
Well, here's the great thing, though, why I love the transfer portal. It's so new. We're gonna find out, right? Because there's gonna be instances like with Colorado and Deion Sanders that he's doing it. So, and if it works, there's gonna be two different sides. Like, oh, that's the best thing ever, and two, well, this is just gonna be the end of college sports. Just like with anything that changes in college sports, there's no way to fix it. It's already too in, too deep. I think either way is fine in my opinion because okay, it works great, but there's all these athletes that still are left not going to schools. So there's going to have to be some sort of protection put in place either side, whatever happens.
Yeah. It's crazy time. Crazy time for college athletics. It's hard to understand where some of this stuff is going to go. All right, let's jump into some of these questions. Let's start with, and I don't know who all these are from. I just pulled them off. They're all off of Twitter.
Well, keep in mind, I'm 2 hours behind. So Jared, people that are listening, Jared texts me at like 6:45 in the morning, and I wake up at like 9 o'clock California.
6:45 in the morning California time. Lazy people time, by the way.
Yeah, lazy people time. And myself being lazy people time, I get up at that would be 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock your time.
Yeah, it was like 11:45. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get a text saying he put some questions out there. I'm like, oh, shit. It's about to go down today. And I was 5 hours into it. And I checked Twitter. You guys are psychos. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. We had some good questions. This can be hit and miss. This exercise can be hit or miss. We had some really good questions, though. There's no like rhyme or reason to when these questions are going to come up. They're just, as I found them, they're riding. So we're just going to kind of hop around here. This one says, if Jordan could play on one Iowa State basketball team, what year would he have best fit in with, and how far in the tournament would they have gone?
Ooh.
Let's just take it to the Iowa State teams that you played against.
Well, obviously not my freshman year because they had Monte Morris and
Naz and
Matt Thomas, like
Deontay.
that. I would have had a hard time fitting in that team. This might surprise you, dude. I honestly would say the team that didn't win a game in in conference play.
What?
Yeah. I would have loved to play on that team because
just because you would have been the guy?
Well, one, I would have been the guy, and two, I would have been I like to get a little aggressive sometimes when people are slacking or not doing what they're doing or doing the right job. I would have loved to be on that team and hold everyone accountable, hold everyone in place. And if I could go back, dude, and have a comparable season, I honestly think we have a winning season on conference or in the conference play.
Shit, and you wouldn't have made the tournament then. Probably.
Close.
Yeah.
I think it would have been fun. That's a fun thing.
Well, let me tell you, living through it wasn't very fun. As it stood. Yeah, it was not very fun. That does surprise me that you would have said that. The only other one, I was trying to think about how you would have fit on the 2019 team, the one with Shayok and Weiler Babb and all those guys. They had a lot of dudes too. I don't know how that would have worked out.
My second option might have been this last year's team because you guys needed a shooter desperately. Yeah, I'd probably say this last year.
Yeah. All right. With it being Drake Relays week, what is the fastest mile you and J-Bo have ever ran? What's the fastest you've ever run a mile?
Well, I got huge into cardio this last summer, and I got up to a 5:15 mile.
Damn. Yeah, so this is actually kind of a funny story. My freshman year at Simpson, when I got there, we did all track workouts for conditioning.
Hell yeah.
So we ran the mile every Tuesday. And by the end of conditioning, they wanted the big men to run a 6:15 mile, I think it was.
Yeah, right.
And, oh, yeah. Fuck no.
6:15 as a
not
big
happening.
man?
Yeah, not happening. My best friend, dude, my best friend was 6'7", like 300 pounds. This man was not running a 6:15 mile, but neither was I. Like, I wasn't running a 6:15 mile either. But that was by far the fastest mile. Like, I don't know how fast I ended up getting to, but that would have been by far the fastest mile I ever ran, was at that time when we ran the mile literally every Tuesday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Were you just on a track, like outside?
Yeah, we ran all on the track. We would run a mile and then we would run 8 200 repeats.
Hmm.
So you ran a mile in just like straight and then a mile in sprints. And then we didn't win very many basketball games because we weren't in very good basketball shape.
Dude, that's actually a great thing to say because you can run all you want.
Yeah.
You're not going to be in basketball shape. The only way you can be in basketball shape is playing basketball games. That is
Yeah.
the only way.
And
People that
even
don't play basketball don't understand that.
and even like the running suicides and all that kind of stuff like is not the same. You
Yeah, it
know?
doesn't work.
No, it's just the only way to feel comfortable playing is just to play basketball all the time. And we didn't do anything on the basketball court. We did everything on the track or on the football field. It was horrible. People were throwing up. Like it was basically our 2-3 time weekly throw up session was all that it was as a team.
I'm sure you hated getting up those days too and realizing you had to do that.
Oh,
Have
you
that- have
dreaded
that
it
moment.
all week.
Yeah.
It'd get done and you're dreading the next one already. You're in the middle of running your mile and you're like, fuck, I have to do this again next week. Gosh, what am I doing here? You know, this is why I didn't last very long. Why I didn't last very long at the playing with those guys.
That's brutal.
It's a tough one, man. It's luckily things aren't quite the same at Simpson College. If anybody's getting recruited by Simpson, this is not how it is anymore. I promise you. What do you think about UFOs and are aliens already here?
Oh,
Aliens absolutely are already here. That's where I stand on this.
you know when there was the Area 51 like huge protests and like people were gonna break
Yeah,
down.
they're gonna stampede Area 51. Yeah.
I could have been the guy that was running that all. That's how in depth I am of wanting to get some answers.
You would have been out there leading the charge towards Area 50. You
I
would have
would
been the
I would
first
have
guy getting mowed down then by the government.
I would have had a pickaxe on my right shoulder and a AR on my left shoulder, just sprinting into government territory. Ready.
In order to get the answers to whether or not the
Yeah.
aliens are here.
Yeah. Actually a current event, Space Force did say that. Did you see this on
No.
On the news?
No.
Supposedly, Space Force said that the threat from the outside world is very real, something along those lines. So, I'm not
Of course
saying,
the Space Force is going to say that. They want to get their money in the budget.
yeah, that's true. But I mean, how cool is it? We have a Space Force now.
Does anybody else in the world have a Space Force yet?
No, you know what I think? I think we've had a Space Force for a while.
Oh, 100%. There was already a branch. Have you ever watched the show For All
Space Force?
Mankind? No. Yes, I have watched that show with Steve Carell. It's called For All Mankind or All Mankind. It's on Apple Plus, and it's
No.
like it's basically like a fictionalized world in which the Russians beat the United States to the moon, and how that pushed the United States to throw even more money into NASA, and then NASA basically led technology like into the next generation, and it's like a whole thing. It's really good. It's actually really interesting, but it's interesting to think about how things could have been different, like if the space race had gone differently, you know?
It's like a different simulation of.
Yeah, it's like a retrospective of like what could have happened, you know?
Dude, people that make up TV shows have like the most insane, especially like the sci-fi. Like they must smoke like a shit ton of weed and be like, hey, dude, like what if we like retroactively go back to see what Russia would have done if they were first on the moon? And everyone starts freaking out. Oh my god, dude, that's such a good idea. Like,
Well,
is
I mean,
that
you've walked outside in California, haven't you? Don't you know what it smells like out there? That's
Oh.
where the people making these shows live.
I walk outside and I feel like I'm in a different dimension. Like, dude, lay it off a little bit.
It's 7 a.m, bro.
It's 4 a.m, dude. Go to bed.
Hey, that's
You don't
just
need.
hey, 420 only comes around twice a day, man.
Yeah, no kidding. And they take it seriously. They're active for those minutes of those 420s.
Hey, don't knock them. They got to get through life somehow out there in the beautiful sunshine. Life is so rough out there in California, man. They got to make it through.
I'm not gonna lie. I was walking on the beach around San Diego. Quick story time. And there's quite a bit of homeless people, right? And for some reason, I had this thought in my head. I was about the whole needle incident of like homeless guys sticking needles into strangers. I don't know if you saw those headlines. Like that was
No.
and like I was like, dude, this guy was walking super suspicious too. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like he's walking with like a little like crip walk and he's like about to fall over, but he's not. He's like stable. And I'm like, dude, is he gonna stab me? So like I had like keep it. I was like corner of my eye, corner of my eye, corner of my eye, and he wrapped around my left shoulder and circled around to my right shoulder and just like took off. Like he didn't sprint, but he did this like little crip sprint walk. I'm like, this is absurd. This is a crazy environment. It's insane.
Welcome to California.
Welcome to California.
Oh, man. All right, hypothetical. If Otts became the coach at Iowa and Fran became the coach at Iowa State, and you're a 17-year-old recruit with offers from both schools, who do you go play for and why?
I have offers from both schools.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's hard because both these coaches recruited me. Like they actually did recruit me in real life.
Man, it's a tough one.
Oh man.
You got your allegiance to Fran, but if you keep your allegiance to Fran, then you're giving your allegiance to the Cyclones too. This is a trick question right here.
I'm losing my allegiance to the university. Dude. Well, here's the thing. That is one of the hardest questions I've ever answered. Here's the thing. I always wanted to play for the University of Iowa. And Fran gave me the opportunity. So technically, the University of Iowa came first. So I would have to say University of Iowa.
Okay. That's what I figured you would say. Yeah.
But there's that's a little tricky one.
I don't know, man. Are you ready to guard? You gonna play for Otts?
Only if I can shoot 10 threes a game.
Well, did you see how many that they let Gabe Cow this year?
Yeah, I mean, but yeah.
He'll let him fire. He'll let you fire him up.
Yeah, but there's half the amount of possessions playing for Otts compared to Fran.
Yeah. So this actually a good segue into another question that someone asked. He said, not an indictment, but what percentage of practice / emphasis was placed on defense in practice?
Not an indictment. No offense.
No offense, but how much time did you actually practice defending in college?
What's crazy is we actually spent a large amount on defense, whether people want to believe it or not. It's just we play our offense so fucking fast. Like people don't realize how fast we play. Like I know there's been several people that come to our practices and watch our practices and have said the same thing. Like, wow, you guys actually work on defense? Like joking, like a little elbow nudge, like ha ha ha. But yeah, we actually like a lot of our like conditioning is basically playing like these segments and you have to like get a certain amount of stops in a row to win. So like it's a good amount. It's a good amount on defense. Yes.
That sounds like the kind of joke that like Robbie Hummel would come to practice and then he'd make that joke, you know.
Yeah.
Like a Big Ten network analyst is making that joke.
Yeah. I like Robbie Hummel, but man, there's a lot of Big Ten guys out there.
Did you watch when the night when Patrick McCaffrey told him he was going to make 5 threes and then made 5 in the first half and kept looking at him?
Yeah, that was I don't think that was talked about enough.
The only time I ever heard that talked about was from Robbie. I think on the air, the only time I heard him ever talk about that.
Yeah, he was literally staring down the commentator the whole game. It's electric.
For like no reason, too. Just like
no reason. I don't even think they won that game either.
No, I don't think so. It was just like one of these weird things, like a weird side plot in the broadcast was that every time Patrick McCaffrey made a 3, he had to look at Robbie Hummel and say something to him.
Little side story.
Oh, man, that was funny. This guy wants to know what the final score of a one-on-one game between the two of us would be.
Between me and you?
Yeah.
Well, who has ball first?
I mean, I would like to think that I could get the ball first, just because you're a nice friend. You know, you're gonna get the ball and score on me how many times in a row. You know.
We played 11 ones and twos.
Yeah. I'd get at least one.
Yeah, I'd say you probably score once or twice. But once I
Yeah.
get the ball, you're not getting it back.
No, yeah, and I understand that. I'm not gonna argue that. You know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm gonna try. Like, I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
get the ball back, but I'm knowing that it's probably just not gonna go well for me. You are a professional basketball player, and I'm not.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think just because of your height and you have some sort of skill already playing basketball, you for sure will get a couple points.
Yeah. I think that anybody out there who thinks I would get blanked is a moron. I'll say that right now. Starting five.
I will say this: there is a good chance if you don't score the first possession that you get blanked.
Yeah, I mean, but that could be the case for you playing against anybody. You're a professional fucking
Oh, true,
basketball
yeah.
player. You know,
Good
like
point.
I don't know. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who that is.
Good point.
Starting five of the best players from both Iowa State and Iowa this decade. Does this decade just mean the 2020s, or does that mean like going back to 2013? I think that's
Well, I mean, it has to be 2013 to.
yeah, I would think so. Well, who's our pool of players here? The Murray twins, Luca, Niang, Monte. Those are the five that probably.
Halliburton.
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton. That's a good top six right there, man. You're winning a lot of games with that top six.
Low key, like I love Matt Thomas's game. I'd throw him in there too.
Yeah, Matt Thomas. Well, I would throw you in there, I suppose.
Aw.
I suppose. I'm trying to think of your other teammates.
Joe Wieskamp.
Yeah, Joe Wieskamp, Aaron White.
Yeah, Aaron White.
Peter
Jock has to be in there.
Peter Jock. I don't know. That'd be a good team. I don't know if it would be hard to pick a five. There's not a lot of guard. Like, it would be hard to pick that front court, especially.
If we could form a mega team with Iowa and Iowa State back in like the 2013s through 2023s, like on each team each year, we'd win the national title every year.
Yeah, is this assuming that every other state is not doing the same thing?
Yeah, we're the only state doing it.
Okay. Yeah, we're the. It's like if you're in a conference and there's like sports sharing in high school, you know, and you get like two schools that are really good at something, but they only have a handful of kids, and then all of a sudden they're gonna consolidate, you know,
Yep.
And then they start beating the shit out of everybody because they've got like twice as many kids because they've got two separate schools.
Exactly. So it's been done already.
We have the model. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
What was the best trash talk you heard in college? Have we talked about this before?
Best trash talk. I feel like we have. I mean, I've heard some crazy shit.
What's the best thing you can think of?
Man, there's so many. We go back freshman year. We played some insane people. Like some crazy people. Possibly some criminals at this point.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I don't know, dude. Oh my gosh. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
My bad.
That wasn't obnoxious at all.
I don't know how to get that off my phone compared to my computer. I've been trying to figure it out for 4 years, Jared. I can't figure it out. Am I getting old? Is that the point you get old?
You could just go up there and put your computer into focus mode, you know, and just like do not disturb.
Okay.
I mean, that's also, we've recorded how many episodes of the podcast? That's the first time that's ever happened. So
That's surprising. Because I don't want to toot my own horn, but a lot of people hit me up. All right, what was the question?
Not to brag or anything, but a lot of people call me. Okay,
Yeah, not to brag at all.
not to brag. Yeah, because nobody wants their fucking phone to ring.
Not to brag, but I've been thinking about getting another phone.
Like Kevin Gates got the two phones.
Dude, surprisingly, like, everyone I was a teammate with in the G League had 2 phones. I'm like, "Is it worth it? Do I need to get 2 phones?"
Did you ever ask anybody, hey, bro, what's the other phone for?
No, I was afraid to. I'm like, seriously, though, they all had 2 phones.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I just want to know why. Like, for what?
The only thing I can think of is because, like, they got all their basketball stuff on one phone and personal stuff on another. Because it can get kinda hectic with the amount of texts you get during season.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
is it
But also,
is it worth it?
right. Also, you have to carry 2 phones around all the time.
Yeah, like, doesn't that get uncomfortable when you're walking around? You got 2 things flowing around in your pants? I don't know,
I
man.
think you got a little more than that floating around in your pants. But
Oh, yeah.
what was the best trash talk that you heard in college? That was the question. That's getting clipped right there.
What?
That whole thing. And then what was the best trash talk? That was the question.
Oh, I'm sweating. I don't know, dude. My mind, like, looking back, it's all just a blur. Like, I can't think of a certain instance that it
I,
was like,
I just think so much of is low key, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like things that you're not. It's not like most trash talk is like out in the open. You know, it's a lot of
right.
times it's just it's kind of you say something to somebody kind of on the side, or out of the side of your mouth.
I do remember Miles Bridges my freshman year, which goes down perfectly along the line that he is a criminal now, so
Yeah,
this fits my
yeah.
mental, yeah. Um, we were playing them at I think it was at Michigan State. I don't think we played them at home that year. I don't think we had a double. No, I think it was at Michigan State, and he hit a 3 in the corner. I just went out for my, like, 12-minute break, and I wanna say it was Riley Till that said something like, "That shit's broke," or "That shit's off," somewhere on that line, and he turned around, like, the ball was in the air, like, it didn't go in the basket. He shot the 3, turned around, and said something along the lines like, "That shit's wet pussy," or something like that. Like, I'm like, and keep in mind, 4 minutes later, he dunks on me, so we
Oh,
lose by 30, so it was just uh, I don't know.
maybe he was distracted by the blindingly white court too, and
That
that's
could've
why he
been it.
missed the shot.
Could've been it. I don't know. It was he was a bizarre person to play against.
Every player that I talk about or have talked to that I have asked that question to, because I did a podcast on Cyclone Fanatic with a guy that played for Iowa State like in the early 2010s, Scott Christopherson. I don't know if you
Mm,
would know that name.
legend. He's a
Yep.
legend.
Uh, he I asked him that same question, and the only trash talk that he could remember was Travis Ford at Oklahoma State, the former coach at Oklahoma State. He used to talk shit to people.
What?
Yes. From the sidelines, the head coach used to talk shit to the other players.
That sounds counterintuitive, but
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. That was he just said that he would always make comments when you'd run by him. He'd say something to you,
I
for
do
whatever
remember the
reason.
Portland now that you bring that up, like, that is I'm glad someone else does deal with that too because I feel like it's all just little trash talk and a blur through the career, but I remember we played Portland State and the coach was, like, talking shit about, like, he hasn't played us yet. We're playing them in 2 days, he's talking shit about Iowa before, like, in the press conference, like, something along the lines, like, they shoot really bad shots and or poor like, it was something, like, crazy. I don't remember exactly
When
what
was it in a tournament?
we played Portland State. It was one of those bye games at the beginning of the year. I'm like,
Oh,
"Dude, you guys are fucking Portland State. Like, we're gonna beat you by 50."
I was gonna say, what media is the Portland State coach
I
talking to, where
know.
he could even like shit on you guys?
Yeah, it was crazy, and I guess he was, like, very animated on the sideline the whole game. Like, I think Coach McCaffrey knew him prior, and he knew what his character was. But we're like, "Dude, we could play the starters for the first 4 minutes and sit them out the rest of the game. We'll still win by 30. You guys are awful."
I want to say Terry Porter used to be the Portland State basketball coach.
It was the COVID year, so it would've been 2 years ago when we played them.
I'm pretty sure that that's right.
Yeah,
Oh
just a
wait,
bizarre guy. I don't even think we didn't even shake hands that game. That was the game. That was the game they were trying to get in our locker room and fight us.
Oh, Portland State?
Yes, dude. And that was the COVID year, and like because Iowa, the tunnel situation, we all walk in the tunnel at the same spot. And we didn't shake hands. We went in the tunnel, and there was like players banging on the door trying to get in and fight us.
Oh my God. I know who this coach is. Okay. He used to be the head coach at Indian Hills. That's how Fran would have known him.
Yeah,
Barrett Peary.
yeah.
That's who it is. He used to be the head coach at Indian Hills, like in the Hoiberg years. So like a lot of those guys, like Jameel McKay, Dustin Hogue, like those guys played for him or maybe not Dustin Hogue, but those guys that went to Indian Hills all played for him.
Yeah. So he was a psycho. Their players were psychos. They got 60-piece McNugget meal, no fries in the bag, and they try to fight us in the locker room.
Well, he is no longer the coach there at I'm trying to what this was not the you're confused.
No, it's Portland State.
Portland State appears to have not played a non-conference schedule that year.
Maybe it was the last year. Or was it Portland? No, it was Portland State Vikings.
Okay, here it is. Yeah. It was the year after the COVID year. So you're senior, your last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't shake hands with a lot of teams in my career at Iowa, so
85 to 51. Yeah.
Yeah. They got 85 to 51. I probably didn't even play 20 minutes.
All right, last question. What is your zombie apocalypse plan? Ooh. Which Iowa State and or Iowa athletes would you want to be with you during it?
I've thought about this a lot. Where I would go before I pick someone up? I don't know. People always say shopping malls for some reason. Like
or Walmart.
Yeah, why the hell would you do that?
I think you need to pick a low-key store. You can't pick Walmart. Walmart's too obvious. Yeah. Shields, like Bass Pro, like those things are too obvious. There's too many people going there. You're not going to survive. That turns into like a game of Fortnite. That's just Battle Royale.
I would pick I always thought like hotels would be a fun excursion during a zombie apocalypse.
Food could become an issue though.
Yeah, food become an issue. I would probably, a super Target. I'm not a big Walmart guy.
I feel like in the zombie apocalypse, do you have much room to be choosy?
My zombie apocalypse.
Like at that point, do you have time to stop and be like, come on, guys, we're really going to go to Walmart?
Yeah, I'm going to be like, dude, we bought all our stuff at Super Target our whole life. We're going to end our life at Walmart? Gotta go to Super Target.
Why not go to Whole Foods? Trader Joe's?
Because that food doesn't last long. Yeah. I've already answered that before.
You already thought that one through. You're like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. That's too that rich people shit. I don't want that. No.
Yeah, the food doesn't last long.
Food doesn't last the same. See, that's why you got to go to Walmart. Everything lasts in there.
Yeah.
At this point, Hy-Vee, man, I feel like Hy-Vee would have they've got a strong case. Fairway, like they've all got a strong case.
But I've always said this. If you go to Walmart during zombie apocalypse, the food there might kill you first before the actual zombies.
If you ate the wrong thing, I guess.
Well, have you seen the people at Walmart?
I just think that the people that would be going to Walmart, it's like I said, like it would be Battle Royale in Walmart. Do you think that there's any possibility that you could create an organized society within that Walmart in order to potentially end the zombie apocalypse? Like, obviously not.
Organized society? No. Okay, so now we're talking about a different thing. Are we surviving or are we creating organized society?
Well, I would like to think that once we survive, we need to come with some sort of social order,
Okay, well,
how are we going to rebuild?
If we're creating social order and rebuilding, I'm going into like the boonies and like the South, and I'm going into like making a little farm society, have a little church chapel there, growing food, having a farm, growing my potatoes, tomatoes, maybe even have like some watermelon there as well.
Like, and that the zombie apocalypse is hitting those places last,
Well, here's the other thing too. If you go to Walmart, the zombies there are going to be like insane because, the people that always gravitate to Walmart are insane. So you got to kind of stay away from those areas that are always have those gravitational pull to those types of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the crack addicts, like those zombies are gonna be insane, right? So you want to stay away from those areas.
Who
And
knew that zombies had meth head strength?
well, I'm just not, there's gonna be like a on top of like that characteristics, there's gonna be like evolution to these zombies too. So like
Yeah.
there's gonna be those types of zombies that are greater than some other zombies. So you want to stay away from those areas. That's what I'm saying.
We need to locate. No, this is what we do. We take over an Amazon distribution center.
Yeah, but no one's gonna be. Why?
What do they not have at an Amazon distribution center? They can get anything anywhere in a day. They've got everything. You know.
Do they though?
They have to. That's how they're able to get everything anywhere in a day.
Yeah, but there's just dildos in those boxes and like
Oh jeez.
and like wagons for babies, like those
massive vats of like whatever shit that you might possibly some random person has ordered.
Yeah, you can't promise there's gonna be food in those distribution centers.
I'd feel confident that they would have most of the non-perishables.
Here's the difference between me and you, Jared. I'm thinking ahead in the future. I'm creating a community. You're creating a selfish, one-centered
How do I survive as long as possible?
Yeah, how do you survive? I'm trying to extend the human race here. And you're just trying to extend your life. That's the difference between me and you.
I love how you're building a chapel so that you can force your your beliefs onto whoever these helpless people are that are just trying to survive the zombie apocalypse.
You don't have to go to church on Sundays in my community. You can go whenever you want.
You don't have to go to church, just strongly suggested.
Yeah, I strongly suggest it. And if you don't, we kick you out. It's your option though.
It's your choice, but if you don't do this, you can't live here.
Yeah, it's really open. It's open society.
Oh man, what a group of questions. All right, one last story. This comes from the state of New Jersey. Little League season well underway, and we've got an interesting story where the people in the Deptford Township, New Jersey Little League, after 2 volunteer umpires quit last week, have set it up now to where parents have to replace umpires if they are removed from a game. It says Deptford Township has created an innovative new solution to combat the trend. If a parent or another spectator fights with an umpire, they have to volunteer to officiate themselves for at least 3 upcoming games. Quote, you're not allowed to come into our complex until you complete 3 umpire assignments. Once you do that, then we'll let you back in. People are very comfortable making officials uncomfortable, so it's about time that we reverse the trend and started making people uncomfortable who are harassing officials. Thoughts on the parents having to umpire after getting kicked out of games for berating umpires?
I think it's hilarious because it's a little league. If we're talking about high school, Jared, I think this would be a little different, but it's little league, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we yelling at little league umpires?
I think then that the umpires should have free reign to the umpires that have quit should have free reign to come in and berate the parents that are doing their umpiring assignments.
Yeah. That'd be great. That'd
reverse
be great.
The roles. We have a little section specifically for the umpires where they can just shit all over whoever this parent is that's umpiring the game and say whatever they want.
Free beers on tap right in the dugout for them.
Yeah. It is really sad though how people just in general take this stuff, how seriously they take this stuff, and to freak out on officials and things like that the way that they do right now.
My take, as much as
I can't imagine where anybody got the hate of officials from.
They bring it on themselves, but my hate for officials stops at the teenage years, right? If
once someone turns 13, those officials are free game.
Yeah, once the kids turn 13, it's a grown-up sport, man. You gotta be out there. You gotta be surviving. You gotta be making the right calls. It's a grown man sport, man. The kids are out there fighting for their lives, and you're out there throwing. You're blowing the game on your knees. Like, come on. That's when it starts. It starts at the teenage years.
Not when they're
your bottom 10. Dollar. When my kid turns a teenager, I'm gonna be on the court. I'm gonna get ejected a couple games. I can promise you that.
I saw last week that JJ Redick got kicked out of his 8-year-old's game.
Love it. My nephews are. Let's see. One of my nephews is about to turn 2 here, so he probably will have T-ball starting up here in a couple years. I promise you, I might get kicked out of a T-ball game. The
No,
kid was
you
safe. The
no
kid was
you
safe.
no you will not.
The kid was safe. Booker was safe. He was not out.
My God, that's just what you need is like there. You already know it'd be in the newspaper or something like that, or on KCCI.
Florida basketball.
Former Iowa star kicked out of T-ball game for berating officials.
There's a picture of me on the field with my finger pointed right into the umpire's face.
You're like nose to nose with the umpire. It's like a old school MLB guys like kicking the dirt on the umpire's shoes.
Yeah, and I'm dressed up in the full T-ball outfit too.
Can we talk about how weird that is that in baseball the coaches have to dress up in the uniform too?
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is that?
Yeah, like dude, just drop it. You're not a baseball player anymore.
Imagine if Fran McCaffrey had to suit up with you guys for every game.
That's literally what it's like though.
That's what I'm saying. Like they got to wear the baseball pants and everything. It's like, fellas, a nice pair of sweatpants would do just fine. Everybody would be cool with that, you know.
Like the baseball pants are too tight on the ass, man. Like drop it. New style, okay? New style.
It's over. It's over.
Yeah.
We don't need it. This is interesting that this has come up this weekend because I saw a clip over the weekend of John Higgins, one of the best officials in college basketball, officiating AAU games. Imagine going to a game and your kid, you know, you see a call you disagree with, and you start berating John Higgins, you know, at an AAU game.
And I guarantee you more than 80% of those people at those games don't realize that's John Higgins, one of the best officials in college basketball.
Oh, I guarantee it. But also, like, can you blame him? Because I would never expect him to be there. You know?
Can we get him a round of applause for the guy, though? This guy wants it. He wants to be the best.
Grind never stops, dude.
You don't see Corny Green out there doing that. Corny Green's probably on a beach somewhere enjoying his vacation for a whole 6 months before he gets to do 4 games in 4 days for the Big Ten slate. Corny Green's not doing it. Paul Zell, damn sure, is not doing it.
John Higgins perfecting his craft.
Yeah, Higgins wants it. He deserves to ref every Final Four game for the rest of eternity.
I just imagine that John Higgins is in the car on the way over there, and he's like, I really want to work on my fist, getting it really up foul. You know, really work on that today. Like thinking about the intricacies, the details of being an official. He's like, I'm really gonna hone in on these ones today.
He wants it. That's what it comes down to. And a lot of these officials don't want it. They don't want it.
They don't. All right, man. Good episode. Good podcast. You got anything else you want to throw out there? When's your camp coming up? When's your camps?
Still in the works. I will have one in western side of the state, working on that, central side of the state, and eastern side. So Iowa City, Des Moines, and small town in western Iowa I will be doing. What town in western Iowa? Honestly, I can't. Can you tell me yet? I can bring it up on my email, but I don't remember. It's a small one. I want to say like Alta or something. Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. ALTA, is that a western? No, I don't think so. Alta Aurelia, I think, is the name of that school district. I'm not 100% sure that's in western Iowa though. Oh, I got it right here. Alta, yeah, ALTA. Oh, it is in western Iowa. It's like northwest Iowa. Yeah, we are working on a camp there. So, can I come to your camp? Honestly, dude, if you want to help out for some of them. Oh, I'm there. I'm there. Yeah, I'll pay you a nice little hefty smooch on the cheek. All right, we'll talk to everybody again next week. Peace.